Hello, I'm Dr. Eve. Welcome to the Sexual Health Center. I'm sharing some of the stories that I'm faced with on a daily basis. We live in a very sexualized society where there's a high priority given to sexuality in a relationship. And oftentimes we don't stop to consider that maybe I, as an individual person, am not really that interested in being sexual, nor is my partner. But society says we need to be sexual in order to be successful. So I share with you a letter that I received from a woman that I found pretty fascinating around sexless marriages. She's a 44-year-old woman and she's very happily married to a man who she calls amazing, who's 47 years old. They've been married for 5 years. When they began to meet in the beginning, her husband wasn't very sexually active, which she said really suited her because she knew at that age that she wasn't really a high libido woman. They decided to have their child, which they did about 4 years ago. And she says that unlike other women who can say, well, I'm fatigued or I'm not interested in sex because I have a child, that wasn't the reason why. She just consistently hasn't been interested in sex, and nor has her husband. And they have a consensual agreement that sexuality isn't a list on their priority. It just isn't a priority on their list, and they're both very comfortable. But here's the kicker. When she talks to her friends about her sexuality, they look at her aghast, and they have led her to really questioning her happiness in her so-called sexless marriage. She says that she's now gone to the stage of lying to her friends and telling them that they do have a kick-ass, fabulous sexual life just to make them feel more comfortable and to let her feel she's kind of part of the pack, because it's not socially acceptable to say, actually, my husband and I are not that into sex, but we're extremely happy. So think about your own marriage and whether you are feeling the pressure from society or peers to be sexual. And whether you're discussing it with your partner, may be surprised to find that he or she isn't that interested in being sexual, but are really performing on demand because society expects you to be a very sexual couple. I think it's something very interesting to think about. And what I would really prefer is that people are true to themselves. That if there is a desire disparity, that's like a very different story where one person has a much higher libido than the other one. Of course, it's going to cause tension. But if two people feel in a relationship that they equally are not that interested in being sexual and they find a lot of soulness and wholesomeness and relationship and intimacy with what they do create, why should we judge that as being an inadequate relationship just because sexuality isn't being prioritized? I want you to consider that, and I want you to accept that sexuality is a very important part of one's health and part of one's relationship, but it also can be something that two people agree on isn't something that they really want to spend a lot of time on. So think about that. Love your opinion around that. So find me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter for more conversations.